everybody. I have opened the door. This is Cindy Kabika, and I'm so glad that you are joining us. This is Energized Living Today, and we are presenting the Soul View, and we have a very special guest for you today, and I am so thrilled that he is here. His name is Michael Hane, and how did we meet him? We met him at BJ King's event that she had in Oklahoma, and he came down there because he has this very special gift that he has where he aligns he does an Atlas activation. And this is a method that he uses. It's called Atlas, and let me make sure that I get this right, Michael. It's prophylax. Prophylax, do I have that right?
Prophylax, yes.
Yeah, Atlas prophylax. And he combines this with other kinds of work that he does. And this is energetic work. He does body work, and nobody else does it quite like he does. What I do know is that when we were at BJ's event, Ferris and I tried to get in to see him, and he was booked up so fast we didn't get to. But everybody that came out of that room, they were kind of floating, and they felt so good, and their pain was gone, and they just felt so balanced. And the wonderful thing about the work that Michael does is that it's a one-time thing. Once you are in balance, now you can do some follow-up work, and he'll talk about that, but initially you are in balance. So Michael, I want to welcome you. I thank you so much for joining us here, and it's going to be wonderful to see you here in Nashville next weekend.
Thank you, Cindy, for having me. Yep. And I hope I'm looking at you, I'm looking in the camera, but it's a pleasure to be speaking with you all. Thanks.
Yes. And you know, you've been doing this for how long now?
I was trained in 2006, so almost 14 years. It's been a journey for sure.
So what made you decide to do Atlas activation and also to couple this with the body work that you do?
Well, I was initially a professional massage therapist, and that was my love and my passion for a long time. And I was always drawn to more the energetics of it, the craniosacral work, the polarity therapy. You know, I studied a lot of Reiki therapy. I had my own Tai Chi practice. I was practicing Qigong. I was very interested in the energetics of the body. And so when I learned this technique, Atlas activation, which originally came from Switzerland, I found it a great way to open up the body through the Atlas work and then to integrate it all with the energetic work. So it's really, you know, the vision was to have a very whole-bodied, integrative healing session, so that it wasn't just energy, it wasn't just physical, but it was a mixture of all. It was a structural shift, it was an energetic release, it was a craniosacral synchronization. So a few things are happening in the session at once.
You know, I really love what you're saying because, you know, I know that when I went through my own health crisis, after the car wreck, I could not heal my body until I did the energy work. You know, I did the diet, I did the exercise, I did physical therapy, I did all these things, but until I added that component, my body, it wasn't aligned to heal. So that's what I hear you're saying, is that the different modalities that you do to really align the body and get it to stay that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, so much is happening with our whole nervous system. You know, obviously stress affects how fast we heal. You know, having pain in our body affects how we heal. You know, a variety of things. So the central nervous system is key. So if you can relax that and allow that to do, to receive and send the healing energy throughout the body, I feel like that's a great way to start, you know, just to relax the body and to allow it to feel safe to heal. You know, sometimes we don't quite feel like we can let go. So I like the energy work for that reason.
I'm writing that down, and I want everybody to write that down. Safe to heal. In fact, can somebody just put that in chat so everybody remembers that? Because I so get what that means. That's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty big statement to me. Safe to heal. Because the body, if we're throwing more things at your body all the time, then it's not going to feel safe to heal.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes, I like, the energetic work and the Atlas work. There's a lot that happens in the session. It's an hour long. But there's a moment there where I can sense energetically, like that's enough for the person. That's less is more here. We don't have to do a lot of different things. We activate the Atlas occipital joint, the whole central nervous system, and then we do some really, just very direct energetic work just to help integrate some cranial work. But it's simple, and I think the body responds better that way. And if it's too much going on, if there's too much jostling, the person starts to become a little bit tense. And I think we've all had massages like that where the massage therapist maybe just is not quite connecting, and they're doing too much or they're going too fast, and then there's a part of our nervous system that gets tight. So we want there to be people to feel comfortable and just mostly allowing for this process, because I really do believe that this is the first time that there'll actually be a corrected, foundationally balanced Atlas occipital joint. And may I just continue, as we're talking about the Atlas work, it is a joint, the most important one in my feeling. The Atlas occipital joint is really the region at the base of the skull, and that's where we want to activate it. And then we'll talk a little further about the energetics of it and the very potent chakral point that exists at the base of the skull, almost like an entry point. But that joint governs two other major joints in the body, the sacroiliac joint. So anybody that has like hip issues and rotation of the hip, short leg, low back pain, issues with their sacrum, they have a rotation in their pelvis, and it's compensating for what's not correct up top. So if we can get the Atlas occipital joint to be fully seated in its natural, stable condition, then it's going to help align the rest of the spine. And this is happening like rapid speed. I mean, this is not something that's long and drawn out. We activate the hip. I've seen the left leg drop immediately. The joint down there will correct itself, as well as the Atlas. And there's also a really important intercranial joint that's right where the sphenoid bone, which is behind the eyes, and the occipital bone, where they meet. It's the sphenoid occipital junction there, and that's a very vital joint for the housing and the seat of the endocrine system, the thymus and the pineal gland and pituitary are right there as well. So there's some very important joints that line up, and we start with the Atlas activation.
Wow, so that covers a lot of things, and that explains
Sorry,
a lot about...
I ran with it there.
No, that's what I want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want you to do. I just realized how many things are affected in my own life since my neck is so compromised. Mm-hmm. I have a hip issue. And the sacroiliac, I've had problems ever since my car wreck. Mm-hmm. I never knew that they were related, although, the head bone's connected to the foot bone. Everything is connected. So
that's the polarity of the spine. You have the Atlas up top, and then you have the polarity of the sacral joint at the bottom. And those two is what's governing the balance of the spine and the structure. So one can't be right and the other one, if one's right, the other one will be right. So we start with the Atlas, we can correct the pelvis, the sacral joint.
Well, I'd like to invite everyone to put in questions. If you are here on Zoom with us, then go ahead and just key into the chat any questions that you have. If you are on Facebook, go ahead and key in your questions. And Ferris, my trusty sidekick and resident comedian, is also here. And Ferris is going to be monitoring both so that we get your questions. So go ahead and say hi to Michael. It's so wonderful that he's here, isn't it? Joining our community. So I'm so appreciative of that. Michael, I want to say, I just want to make sure that I have this right from what you're describing. The occipital bone, this is the base of the spine. It's kind of here. There's kind of
Not
a,
at the base of the spine, base of the
I mean,
skull.
base of the skull, excuse me, base. I meant
Top
the
of the
base
spine.
of the skull.
Her
Yeah.
spine is very short.
Thanks, Ferris. Okay. I was pointing to the head. All right. So the base of the skull here. And then there's the atlas is just underneath that, and it kind of fits up at the.
Yeah, it's the pedestal. It cradles the skull.
Okay.
It allows the head to be stable on the spine. The atlas is key for this.
Okay. And so if it's twisted or shifting from one side to the other, that's where people get in trouble?
Well, absolutely, yeah. That's where you lose stability, and that's where the body starts to compensate. But we're not talking about something that's out of adjustment. The whole joint itself is unstable. So if you want to have full body balance, you have to stabilize this one joint.
Okay.
Yeah. And most people are off. There's kind of a strange thing that I've observed over the years, that most of us have this condition. Most of us are walking off seated, out of balance. We're great compensators. And then if you have an accident, like you mentioned in your own personal trauma, then it's just more symptomatic at that point. The body is a little bit more unstable, but there's a fundamental flaw that I see, a weakness in that area that most people are dealing with.
And do you think this is, you mentioned from birth before, most people, is that because of the way that they, assist the baby out of the womb?
That I think that can cause some trauma later in life. People have a lot of recall on how they were delivered, and stress in that in those first early moments of coming out of the womb. Sometimes the labor is very difficult. But I know, I think this is happening. Something. It's beyond that. It's not just because of how we were delivered.
Okay.
Yeah, it just starts, at an early point of development, the joint unstabilizes. And I just know that by palpating, literally thousands of people, and I recognize the pattern. There's something that's just uncanny and so similar with each one of us. So I like to call it a correction, to reconnect something that was to restore something in its natural function. It's a restoration project, really.
Wow.
To correct people, and to do this in one session, so that we don't have to keep coming back. We don't have to keep struggling with the old symptoms, that we can actually move forward.
Boy, that would be wonderful. Now, for people that are athletic, people that, I like to run. There's people that do, yoga and pretty, ballistic type exercise. That doesn't cause things to go out again?
It shouldn't. What I see, what causes instability and for it to maybe come out again or to destabilize is just stress. We spend a lot of time staring at screens and sitting in cars, but no, the point is that it's more stable than it ever was, that you actually will have greater physical capabilities. You'll restore, some of the old vitality. You'll be able to do more. So I don't think it's not working it's not counterproductive. It's your body is going to, quickly identify that something positive has shifted. And so it's gonna want to be there. It's gonna want to make this shift. So be as active. I promote that, more activity. Move your body. A lot of people, because of pain, they've over time move less. They do less. They hurt more. They do less, and then that over time, the body develops a lot of, it starts to become a chronic thing. So we want to change that.
I go to the nursing home to visit my dad a lot, Michael, and I wonder when I see people, their lack of movement, or they're shuffling around and, not able to walk fully and can't stand up. I wonder at what point was the point of no return for them? What happened where they could have changed it and they weren't able to change it. They didn't know what to do. And to me, that turning point, it sounds like to me that it starts with you and what you do, with this activation.
Well, I think it can make it, can make a dramatic difference. I think that turning point for some people is when they start to rely on pain management, where they, choose to, and I'm not downing surgery or medication or anything like that, but sometimes, I've just seen in the past that once the pain is so bad or once something, requires a surgical procedure and then there's medication that follows, then I feel like that's a change in their vitality for sure. And the Atlas activation, most people come to me in their 40s and 50s. They don't recognize, although I see children and young adults as well, but it's usually by the time, they've reached the 40s and 50s, they've got some painful symptoms and they're just ready to kind of move forward, especially if you have something like headaches, chronic pressure around the base of the skull and migraines and things like that, which really erode our quality of life. They're very difficult. Those things, people start looking for solutions. And I believe this is one very, very helpful solution.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so simple too. That's great. I'm not sure, are the listeners, were they able to look at the website, Cindy? Did people look at the website? Did you send out some basic information on?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that people have an idea that we're working, where we're working and what we're doing.
Yes, they do.
Good.
We sent out a whole huge email.
Good. Thank you.
You didn't get to see it. I should have forwarded it to you.
No problem. But I just hope people are not wondering, like, what are we talking about?
Okay, now let me just interrupt here. We did send it out, but I'll bet you most folks didn't really look at it.
Okay.
Because most folks are just like me. They'll read the email and then go on.
Yeah, they won't go through everything that we send. So, so let's just back up a little bit. And what I would like to do, Michael, is just talk a little bit more about the Atlas and then move into the energy side of this or the body work side of this, just so they get a little clearer vision of what you're doing.
Right. Well, what I see is energetic, but I feel like it's more neurological because there's pressure that builds around the base of the skull and the brain stem. Right where the atlas and the occiput come together is the medulla of the brain stem. It's a very vital center neurologically, and of course we've heard of the vagus nerve being like, the most important nerve in the body because of how it interfaces with all the organs. So I think what's happening is that once we do this correction or this reconnection of this joint, when we rebalance the atlas occipital joint, it takes pressure away from that brainstem. I feel like it relieves tension there immediately. The muscles relax, so the gripping and the pressure decreases, which I feel in turn relieves the nervous system. And so just that alone will increase the cerebral spinal fluid, the craniosacral rhythms. It'll cause, a lot of times people are very keyed up. They have a lot of fight or flight symptoms, a lot of anxiety, anxiousness, restlessness. And I think a lot of that is mostly neurological, and that, once we can soften this area and make the correction, it'll allow there to be a shift in the central nervous system. And I feel like that's the energy that one begins, the lightness in their body, the nervous system starting to relax. And then the energetics of it, I'll, hold the joints and the sacrum and the occiput when I do the craniosacral work and the other cranial bones. And then I'll also just kind of follow my guidance and follow where the energy is flowing and where it might be blocked. So it's all happening. It's energetic, it's neurological, it's structural, very physical. The way I actually employ the way I do the session is I use a massage tool. So there's a part of it where I'm using, neuromuscular techniques, in the soft tissue around the base of the skull. And then I'm just holding, letting the body unwind. I'm doing a little bit of energy work. I'm doing some polarity work. I'm helping the hips get square again. I go back and check again. So it's a very, again, it's a few different levels, that we're working with here, but we're all connected. So everything is supporting each other. So what you do up here is going to affect what's happening down below. What you do with the nervous system is going to affect the way you're breathing. It's going to affect, the expansiveness of your mind. It could affect the chakra areas. It's really what's ready to turn on in your body, what's really ready to potentialize, what people are ready for. Some people have, huge releases from this. Some people have more subtle ones. It just depends on where people are at individually. But regardless, it's a benefit. It doesn't matter how much pain you have or how stuck you feel you are or how long you've had a headache. This thing is just off-seated and unstable on most people. And how we've lived our lives, the choices we've made affect that, as we know. The symptoms, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
And there is something that I like to talk about is mind-body behavior. Mm-hmm. Because if the thoughts that you hold in your head, the way that you care for your body affects your behavior greatly. If you've got a headache, if you're out of alignment, if your energy isn't right, then the world gets the stressed of you, not the best of you. So that's what I hear you describing. I mean, it affects everything, which just trickles down to your relationships. It's big. It's pretty big.
Well, I like the word, in yoga, there's something called prana, your life force energy. There's, in Chinese energetics, you have the Daiji pole that runs through from the center to the crown to the base. And that's the energetic channel, the Sushumna. Our vitality is really important, Cindy. And that's why I always recommend people, what do I do after our healing session? I say, please rest, let yourself recoup. And if we can eliminate this extra pain, this unnecessary pain, if we can eliminate that unnecessary stress, if we can eliminate the hour-long commute each way and shift something up in our lives, or if we can eliminate having to pick fights with our spouse for no apparent reason, we're gonna regain our vitality back. And then if we employ just natural techniques, exercise, breathing, coming out in the sun, doing some nice meditation practices, reading inspirational material, we're rebuilding our vitality. But if we have pain, if we're off balance, if we're struggling with things, it's like our body is using that vital energy to have to heal these parts of us, or compensate, or cover up, or try to manage things. So we want people to, address the things that are keeping them off balance, so that we can regain our vitality, so we're just stronger from the inside out. And then we find that our thoughts are shifting, we're getting more in touch with who we really are, our purpose. And that is simply to be you. If we want to say, hey, what's the purpose of life? It's just to be who you are and who you were meant to be authentically. But if our vitality is low, our food choices are not healthy, we're not sleeping right, we're pushing it, we're doing something we don't like to do, our no's are yeses, our yeses are no's. And I know we all know this, so forgive me if this is something that we have all heard or known, but I can't stress it enough. And I'm starting a program actually myself. I'm learning a program, and the teacher's recommending everybody to go to bed 1 hour early, because we're going to need space to heal. We're going to need more rest to be able to integrate this new information. If we want to do different things in life, we have to create the space for it if we want to make changes. So again, back to vitality, prana, life force energy. These are the things that I think are when we're aligned, when our thoughts are aligned, when things are really working in harmony, we have our vitality to heal, to restore. Again, long-winded, excuse me.
No, that's good.
But I see this a lot with people, Cindy. That's why I'm saying this. I see this with so many of my the people that come and see me, it's not just they have pain, but they're like, my life just seems to be a little stuck right now, or I'm going through a transition in my life, or I had this huge car accident, or just a gentleman today on the call was talking about his mother just passed away and how much it brought up memories in his life. So we all have stuff we're going through. If we have more vitality, a better mindset, I think the healing process is much more smooth and empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Not forced, not do I have to do this, but it's a joy. We want to do it. We want to feel better. We want to get up in the morning and do that meditation practice. I can't not journal anymore. I love journaling, or I can't wait to get back to that book, or that kind of like excitement. It's a desire again.
Yeah.
Pain is a bummer. Let's face it.
It is, and you're right. It robs you of your vitality, and that
it will.
And that those pleasures that you've always had, getting up and doing a yoga practice or meditation. I do morning pages. As a writer, I love to do that. And for when I wasn't feeling well for so long, that's the last thing I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
My head down like this was so painful. That. I look
Mm-hmm.
forward to next weekend when you're here and getting a session from you.
Absolutely.
Because I know that it's off. I can feel it. And, my balance isn't what it used to be. And the way I look at it is I'm only 62. I want good balance.
You got more living to do. And I think as we get older, balance is it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So another reason why I think this is a really good session is that short leg will drop. You'll have more sure-footedness. So I just wanted to quickly, Cindy, before I forget, I would love to just go briefly over just some symptoms for some people out there that may not be sure, like, well, do I need this, or how do I know, or what would be a cause, or what would be a symptom or a sign? And just what you said made me want to talk about this. Was you mentioned I just feel off. I just feel a little off. Like that intuitively, people that come to see me, they just feel off. They don't know why, they don't know how, but they feel as if their head's not on straight. And then they'll be looking in the mirror, and for years they've noticed one shoulder is up higher or one hip is higher, and they just know this. One leg feels shorter. So those kind of just a feeling of offness, just not balance, is really a pretty big symptom that something's not right there. Obviously, having a lot of chronic shoulder and neck pain is a sure tell sign. Headaches, pressure, feeling anxious. And there was a period where I saw a lot of people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, and that's just simply pain everywhere. A lot of joint pain, and then the fatigue that comes with it. There's also a big emotional component to it as well. But so those are the kind of things. They can be, really chronic symptoms, like I've had, low back pain for 10 years. I've had a headache for 5 years. Please come and see me. Or it could be like, what? I feel good mostly. I just want to feel better. And this seems like a really good thing to do. And it makes sense to me that we would want to correct this and not adjust it, that we would want to restore this joint and not let it constantly create compensation in our body and imbalance. So those are the kind of things to look out for. You'll just know that something's just not right in my body. And believe it or not, that's actually one of the more common things I hear.
Really?
I'm just not in a good flow in my life. I'm just not in a good flow period. Something just feels off. That's really common.
I can see that, because if everything is not where it should be, then your energy can't flow.
Well, that's a chakra point up there. That's, that in the Bible, they called it the mouth of God.
Yeah.
That it was important, to speak our truth through the mouth of God. And then there's other, in Chinese medicine and Chinese energetics, they call it the jade pillow gate. It's one of the major energy gates in the body. in Western, physiology, it's the medulla, it's the brain stem, the vagus nerve, the reticulating activating system, and how we socialize actually has a lot to do with our vagus nerve. God, I forget the name. The vagal nerve, the polyvagal theory. The last name is the Dr. Porges, I believe is his name. You can Google him. Polyvagal theory. Very fascinating. He's done tons of research on just the vagus nerve on its own, and how it's so connected to how we socially engage.
I just wrote that down because I definitely want to learn more about that too.
Yeah, it's how we interface with the external world, and how that interfaces with the internal world, and how we are constantly adjusting. The nervous system is constantly monitoring, adjusting, fine-tuning everything. Our perceptions, we walk outside, we're always adjusting. We come into a social situation, sometimes we feel a little anxiety, sometimes we have no problem, we can't wait to start talking to people. You start seeing that all these little the way that the nervous system is adjusting and regulating. It's really fascinating. So he's done a really extensive research on how important the vagus nerve is.
Well, I want to take this time right now just for to ask everybody, if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. And Ferris, I want to go ahead and ask you if we have any questions on, I don't know if we have any here. Also, can you check Facebook?
Yes, I can, and I will, and I have, and and my head is spinning.
There's a lot of information, but it's great.
I feel like the Home Alone kid. The vagus nerve. Carmen wrote in earlier. She said when she lit up when she read the email about you going to be on today, and she feels like that she has issues around boundaries caused by some problem with the vagus nerve. And can you address that? And also before I let you answer that, I will tell you that I had open heart surgery in 2006 when you were learning this, and I had trauma to my vagus nerve during the surgery, and since then I've had really, 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 really severe chest pains. In different places, randomly. I don't know, and have not been able to find any cause for it. And I think it must be related to the vagus nerve. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a vagus nerve until then. And I'll shut up and let you answer.
Well, so Carmen was talking about what kind of boundaries is she talking about?
She feels she has boundary issues. And that it's, let me go back to her question here. She's had a lot of body work in the past, but the vagus nerve area on the left side is her weakest point structurally. She had dyslexia in childhood, and very long, difficult childbearing experiences, and she feels like it's a boundary issue. If she lets too much information in, she gets tense and shuts down.
Okay.
That makes more sense when I read it.
Interesting. Well, that's a little difficult to answer. I've just seen a variety of different symptoms that are around, the nervous system and the vagus nerve issues. Digestion, for instance, can be affected by the vagus nerve. I mean, our breathing, our heart rate. So boundaries, to me, how much we can take in, how much we can assimilate. I think that area is blocked a little bit. This is not really even about the vagus nerve. I'm visualizing that whole area by which information is moving through is tight and blocked. That may cause at a certain point not to be able to process what's happening in the conscious mind and what's happening in the subconscious. Subconscious, I would find, is more of like or, more of that energy down below the heart and the belly, and then interfacing with our conscious thought. They have to go through the neck area. And I feel like if that part is blocked to some degree, it might affect the way that we're able to, learn new things or take information in, or allow our intuitive mind to be open and alive, or to allow ourselves to be emotionally sensitive and feeling. I mean, I think there's just a disconnection there, which could cause something, with how we, what we choose to be a strong yes in our life, or who we choose to have in our lives, or what we choose to do or not do, maybe not knowing where we are with that, maybe not being really in touch with our intuitive self. So maybe we, maybe say yes when we really mean no, or we end up, caregiving and giving ourselves away and not really doing enough for ourselves. I see that a lot with people. So I'm just visualizing, this blockage there, and I think that could really open up. And the best case scenario is that the heart and the mind are integrated. That we're emotionally connected, and we also can use our mind to visualize and to have expansive thinking and thought. And so I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure what happened with you, but the surgical procedure, really affects the nervous system. It's quite a trauma on the body. You've recovered well, obviously, and it's amazing what we do recover from. We're incredibly, vigilant beings.
Boy, that's the truth. We've had a couple of questions about how this compares to chiropractic.
Right. Well, it's not an adjustment. I'm not going to actually work on the atlas bone and try to adjust it. It's really a soft tissue release, a suboccipital release that goes into the soft depressions around the base of the skull. And I'm actually creating space neuromuscularly by relaxing the muscles and the fascia to allow there to be space between the atlas and the base of the skull. That's really where the mouth of God point is, and the joint comes together. So it's really about joint stability than it is about atlas adjusting. And it's very different. I mean, if you choose to have a session with me, a lot of it is going to be body work, hands-on body work, but going into those places around the skull, the muscles that stabilize the atlas joint. There's no cracking, of course. I don't do any kind of adjustments, or you won't hear any popping or anything like that.
I kind of hate to not get the popping.
Well, I can do that if you want, Ferris.
You snap your fingers or something, and that'll.
Yeah, just Ferris. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So you feel like something's happening, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Get my money's worth.
Katie wrote in, and she's wondering, she has had chronic constipation since she was very young. She remembers falling on the playground, and she said she doesn't know if it was related to that or not, or whatever, but she's had chronic constipation. It's been an issue, and she's in her late 50s now, and she says it's been her whole life since that incident that this has happened. And she's done everything she can to try and get her system working right, and it just doesn't. So can this be the case?
I mean, potentially. I mean, it could be a roundabout. There could be a roundabout connection there. Maybe she had a fall. Remember, again, when you were young, even when we're young, the joint is already unstable. So a fall will only create more instability. So it could have interrupted something neurologically. It would have affected the vagus nerve then, because the vagus nerve would travel that far down and interface with the digestive system and the colon. So it's possible. I did have a client like that not too long ago, and she was very happy with the session. And she had chronic constipation. I'm not sure, how often she's going to the bathroom now, but she was very pleased with the whole process. So if it can help the constipation, it's definitely going to support you in another way.
Well, I would love to hear back from the person that you had.
I will. I'm going to see her actually.
Because I think this is, I think it's a chronic problem for a lot of people, especially today because the stress is so high.
Yeah.
You know, and people just don't take the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to go to the bathroom. So, all right, Ferris, any other questions?
Yeah, Tricia wanted to know, and I think I can safely answer this one, that no, X-rays are not involved and they're not needed.
No, yeah, this is not medical. There's nothing that we have to do, you know, there's no X-rays needed. It's done simply by palpation and a couple tests with the legs, and but mostly I'm feeling. I know what I'm feeling for, and I'm aware of, you know, what's corrected, what's not corrected, and you can get a lot of information by just feeling the muscle tissue and holding a certain few specific areas, and you can tell pretty easily if someone's off.
And this is a really good question. Sharon wants to know about long-standing scoliosis.
Right.
Can it help with that?
I don't think it reversed long-standing scoliosis. You know, when something has been very chronic like that, that would take quite some time for that to normalize. But again, to get this foundational piece right is a step in the right direction. To get the atlas and the pelvis to be aligned is the right way to go. Is it going to reverse long-time scoliosis? You know, I can't say it would, you know, quickly within a month's time. I mean, I think there would be something that would require stretching, very, you know, daily exercise, and as well as getting the joints corrected as well, and body work. I've seen minor cases of scoliosis, you know, really good results. You know, and most of us have a little curve in our back anyway. Yeah, most of us have it, but you know, long-standing since you were a child, and where there's a lot of deformity, you know, that would take some time. You know, this is a whole lifetime of one being a certain way, and so.
Okay. And Anne wants to know if you do remote work.
I do remote work when I don't really do it with the Atlas activation, but I do it with follow-up phone sessions, distance healing sessions. I can do energetic body work from my location here. So yes, I do distant, but the Atlas activation is done in person.
Now, when you come to Nashville, you're going to be doing sessions. You'll be here 3 days.
Yes.
And for those of you who want to sign up, Ferris, do you have that link?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you could go ahead and drop it in, and everybody, you want to go ahead and talk about your price structure, and that way everyone knows, you know, what to expect in that regard, and how your structure is going to be as far as the appointments.
Well, they're an hour long. They're an hour with a little break in between. The one-time reciprocity is $250. The work is guaranteed. I'll always redo it. You don't have to pay. That's a one-time fee. When I come back to town to do follow-up work, it's $50 for a half an hour, and that's just simply to check it, to tune it up a little bit, and maybe do a little bit more cranial sacral work. I prefer people getting an hour-long healing session, because it's more thorough and I can spend a little bit more time, you know, kind of tuning things up and actually deepening the process. But it's $250, and in most cases, you just do it one time and then you come for follow-up. And again, I'll always redo it. There's no extra charge. I guarantee the work, you know. And sometimes some people have some anatomical anomalies, or over the years of it not being balanced, you know, there could be some changes in the way the bones are shaped and the way the atlas and the joint come together. So, you know, sometimes you just need another look. You know, sometimes people are very hypermobile. Sometimes people have very long necks. Sometimes people just have a hard time holding any kind of alignment in their body. So, you know, that's why I just offer, you know, the follow-up work, but I'll always redo it. And then sometimes it takes 2 times But in most cases, we do everything in one session.
Boy, that's so amazing. And I think about that and how many times I go to the chiropractor.
I would recommend doing that, but after the atlas is corrected,
yeah,
and then and then the chiropractic work to compensate or not to help integrate the process is great, but at least it's corrected now, and there can be a change in the way that the body now wants to be adjusted.
Yeah.
So with
the foundation
longer,
I would say absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This will take the torque out of it. But, we're torqued, when the joint's off, there's a torque in the spine. And so, we can adjust it, massage it, stretch it out. It'll feel great, but then that torque is always there. So it always goes back. We really have to do, like I said, a kind of a restoration of the natural function of that joint.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see other questions. I'm just looking at my list here of others that I wrote down, and I think that we've answered most all of them. Now you're kind of doing a tour. You're going to be in Nashville, actually Franklin, just outside of Nashville.
Yes.
Taking appointments. That's the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And the calendar will depict that. And then you're also, because we've got people from all over the place here, where else are you going to be? Did you say you're going to Atlanta?
I'm going to go to Atlanta, and then I'll be in North Carolina.
Okay.
Afterwards. Yeah.
All right. So if you are interested, if you're in those areas and you are interested, you can just give Michael is your email on that calendar?
It should be, yeah. And the information you sent out, I should have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That way you'll have the information there, and that way, if you happen to be somewhere else, you might be able to still be seen. I know that a couple of people emailed me from Atlanta, actually. We're in North Carolina.
I go to Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill. Okay.
That area, the Tri-Cities there.
Okay. All right. That way people that are there will know. And again, we saw the people, Ferris and I saw the people that came out of your sessions, and they were just so much better and relaxed. And we still talk to those people because we do a lot of classes together, and they just say extraordinary. It was life-changing for them. And still feeling great. So just that it's beautiful. Anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I just back to the pricing. I really don't want to turn people away. If you really have a need, I'm always open to sliding or just to make it, affordable. And I want people to get this, to have the activation. And so if there's some kind of concern there or need, and then just don't hesitate we can talk about it in private. And also, I would like to just say as a disclaimer, I can never guarantee that this is going to be the magic bullet in your life, or this is going to turn everything around for you. I just feel like this is just a key ingredient, a foundation to real balance in your body. And I just know it's like a starting point. It's really, where we need to begin to really have good alignment. And also to give the nervous system, and that energy that wants to move, its best route, the clearest and least obstructed path, really coming out through the crown of the head and ascending to, greater connection. That I just have this visual of the energy moving up and how we connect with our world, spiritually, energetically, everything. We just need to be whole. We need to be open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I so agree.
I see the angels behind you. I love it. I'm inspired. And then I see the cats behind you. You got the cats. She's got the angels.
I've got cats too, but they're in front of me.
and let me just add, that for those folks in the Nashville area that schedule with you, they will also get to meet Gidget and Gracie.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And Nickel.
And Nickel.
Well, maybe.
Right.
That's Cindy's dog and 2 cats.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to be, I actually have a whole area that I'm making available for Michael. So you have an opportunity to come to the house. And I think that we're going to be doing some presentations. We're going to make this kind of an event for everybody. And, you know, I'm a stress expert, and I think Christine is going to be talking about manifestation. So we'll send the schedule out to everybody when we're going to be doing this. And of course, you, Michael, you're going to be the hero of the weekend.
Oh God. Don't make me feel the pressure's on now. I'm feeling it.
But
another weirdo from California.
Well,
No.
That's okay.
We love weird.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, fit right in.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and you know, and whoever chooses to come, you know, I really look forward to activating, doing this activation on you, and you know, hoping to be part of your healing journey. It'd be an honor, really.
Well, wonderful. Well,
we're excited.
Yeah, we are very excited, and we just so appreciate your willingness to come on and talk about this for our Energized Living Today community and our Soulview community. And any questions that you have, anyone, I will get them to Michael. I don't know if his email was in the newsletter or not, but if you send them to me or to Ferris, then we can get those questions to him and answer them for you. And again, the dates that he's going to be here, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. And just if you'll make your reservation or your, you know, get on the schedule early, the earlier the better, because as I said, when we went to BJ's event, Ferris and I couldn't, it booked so fast that we couldn't get in to see him, but we're going to this time. We're the first ones on your schedule. So.
Well, I appreciated that. That was great. Love to see people wanting to feel better. You know, it's
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so very much. And I want to thank all of you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, folks.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have all of you as part of our community, our soul gang. We love you so much, and we want to reach out. We want to help people heal. We want you to feel your best in your life, and Michael can help you do that. So thank you very much. And until next time, I send you all a great big energy hug, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, and I send y'all light.